Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Daniel Moyer. I'm a sales support trainer here at Briggs Stratton Energy Solutions. With me today, really excited to have Josh Brum from Solagent and also Nathan Heston, one of the other trainers here at Briggs Stratton. Welcome, Josh. Welcome, Nathan.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Daniel.
So,
Exciting.
yeah, what we got today is we're going to talk about how to sell net metering under how to sell solar and storage under the new net metering 3.0. It's really an opportunity, actually, not a hindrance. We now have the opportunity to provide energy storage to our customers and make these photovoltaic systems financially viable and provide a distributed, clean, safe energy storage system. So Josh, welcome. Kick us off, please.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Josh Brum, Energy Storage Manager here at Solagent, the largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. We're excited to partner today with our friends at Briggs and Stratton Energy Solutions, formerly Simplify Power PHI. You love their products, you love their longevity, their quality, their amazing customer service, all available right here at Solagent. I want to remind you that we had a live version of this webinar just a few days ago, but we wanted to make sure that you had access to this webinar on demand for you and your sales team at the Solagent YouTube channel. Again, like this video, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions. And also, if you'd like to have a personal customized version of this training for you and your sales team, our friends at Briggs and Stratton, both Daniel and Nathan and their team, along with our specialist here at Solagent, are happy to organize and schedule a one-on-one personalized sales training for you and your team. But if you'd like to find out more, email me, storage@solagent.net. That's storage@solagent.net. Without further ado, Briggs and Stratton Energy Solutions available right here at Solagent. Let's learn how to sell storage under NEM 3 in California. Go
Thank
for
you.
it, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh. And just so anybody who hasn't seen, Josh has been doing a great job. This is kind of the end of many different videos that Josh Brum has been doing with other companies about how to sell under NEM 3.0. So if you haven't seen any of the other previous trainings, check out the YouTube channel. There's a lot of cool content. We're going to cover some things. Everybody has a different take on it. So please let us know. Check out the other YouTube channels. One exciting thing about Briggs and Stratton is that, and the combination of Simplify Power, is that Simplify Power kind of in a little bit, has been kind of around in the renewable energy storage market for kind of a long time. Now we can partner up with Briggs and Stratton, and we're now one complete integrated solutions provider. Briggs and Stratton is one of those historic companies that they've been around for 115 years. One thing that allows is some really great R&D capabilities, manufacturing expertise. And as you're sitting down at the kitchen table with the homeowners, having a name brand that they recognize builds confidence and helps make that sale a little bit easier. Another exciting thing about Briggs and Stratton is that we make them in America. Not only do we make our engines here in America, but we assemble our batteries in America. We assemble our batteries down in Oxnard, California, which allows us to have great quality control. It also allows us to really integrate advanced battery management systems into these batteries. Nathan Heston, who's on the line with us, he does entire hour-long talks where we talk just about these battery management systems and how important they are to making sure that mainly that the cells are balanced, but also that they're communicating properly and offering protections. So not only is it the cell, it's also the battery management system. Excited that now we can be that one complete energy solutions provider. One really exciting thing that we just announced was our 15-year warranty. Now, this is on our communicating batteries, which is our Amplify and our Simplify batteries. Our standard Phi battery, which is great for drop-in lead-acid battery replacements, still has a 10-year warranty, but we've upped it to 15 years. And I want to point out that this is an unlimited warranty. A lot of our competitors might say, well, a certain number of cycles or a certain depth of discharge, or maybe a certain megawatt hour throughput. What we really wanted to do is make it simple. We want to simplify it and just 15 years, unlimited cycles, 100% depth of discharge. and no megawatt hour throughput or no throughput warranty. So we're really proud of that. And we're really proud that we're one of the few companies that's been around, long enough to see some of our batteries outliving their warranty. So check it out. At the end of that 15 years, you're guaranteed about 70% of the retained, or at least 70% of the retained energy capacity of that battery. One thing is, we all know. Go ahead, Josh.
I want to jump in real quick if I can. So, folks, this is amazing. It is amazing. 15-year unlimited cycles. That warranty is outstanding. It's available right here at Sologent, by the way, when you purchase your Briggs Stratton Energy Solutions from Sologent. Email storage@sologent.net to find out more. But I want to throw in one more thing, and I know you're probably getting to it, the quality coming up real soon here, but that 15 years, that is a warranty number. What about life expectancy? How long is the battery going to last? Well, if you size the battery 20% larger than the customer's daily energy needs so that the battery's discharging at no deeper than 80% depth of discharge daily, again, not a requirement, no cycle requirement, no DOD requirement, for the 15-year warranty. But we're talking about life expectancy, that return on investment. If it's sized properly at 80% depth of discharge, there's a claim, and you guys claim it. You can say it right now, 10,000 cycles.
That's right.
10,000 at one cycle a day, 10,000
divided by 365.
27.39 years of life. Who's touching that, gentlemen?
Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, it's a great warranty. And we have that warranty because we build batteries to the highest quality specifications we can. Daniel's going to talk a little bit more about the construction of our batteries and why we can expect that 15 years and 25 years if sized, with a 20% depth of discharge. So Daniel's going to get into that. It's also, I do want to remind everybody, this is backed by a company that's been around for 115 years, and we're going to be there for the next 15 years to guarantee that warranty. So thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Why we're here today really is for that second one down, right? We're here today to talk about utility bill savings. And under this new net metering agreement, you really, in order to make a photovoltaic system financially viable, right, so that it's going to pay itself off before the system is no longer functional or the warranty is expired, you need to add energy storage. But part of that is also reason for a lot of this drive in this market is backup power, right? That's what we've always been having, is the ability to keep your lights on when these power events, the power grid goes down. Obviously, off-grid has been big part of this industry, and Sologent's been around since the off-grid days. I personally got my start at a company called Sunfrost. We made refrigerators, DC compressor up here in Arcata, California, and that's really where the industry got started. And there are some history on the off-grid that really kind of plays through into these on-grid systems. And now, of course, on-grid systems outpace off-grid completely, but Sologent was one of those historic companies that's been around since the old school off-grid days, the pioneer days. So I'm really excited to see that we're now transitioning into this new kind of paradigm of grid-tied, grid interactive solar and storage. Generators is definitely a big part of it. Briggs & Stratton, we make generators. And that's something that we're able to then combine into an energy storage system. And we could think of generators and energy storage and solar as kind of complementing each other rather than competing with each other, right? We can use the inverter to send a 2-wire signal to start this generator when the batteries that are low state of charge, maybe it's nighttime, maybe it's been cloudy for 4 or 5 days, the batteries are drained, we're about to run out of power. What we can do is go ahead and start that generator, charge up the battery, and then shut that generator off, saving fuel, saving runtime, saving the noise that you have to hear, and you and your neighbor have to hear the noise and the fumes. Really excited about how we can be one complete integrated solution providers. Another thing I want to point out as we're kind of looking at this diagram here is that app, the monitoring and control. And a lot of time and effort went into these apps, and Briggs & Stratton Energy Track is no exception. How do homeowners interact with the system? Well, they don't go out to the power shack anymore and look at the voltage reading on the trace inverter or the Xantrex or whatever it may be. What do? We can't keep these phones out of our face. And so everybody wants to see an app that allows them to see what's happening with their system. Installers want a great app because it allows them to do what? Fleet monitoring, remote reconfiguration, over-the-air updates. So a lot of energy, time, and money has gone into these apps, and I'm really excited to share a little bit more details about that here coming up. Of course, we got our batteries, the grid, the solar, and our electric loads. Really excited to mention that all of these products, this energy storage system, are available at Solagent today. You can log in as somebody who had worked for an installer before. It was so easy for me just to log into solagent.com. I usually had a saved cart where I could just populate my cart out and then either adjust some of the quantities or take away a few of the parts, and that way I didn't have to rebuild it every time. This in the middle 6K inverter that we offer, it's a hybrid inverter with 2 built-in MPPT charge controllers, a bi-directional grid port, a load out port, and a gen input. That gen input allows us to power the system with the generator, but also come back out to existing systems and AC couple. The SKUs are right there at the bottom. The 4.98 battery on the left there is an outdoor rated battery. The picture on the right is that energy control app that we were talking about just briefly.
I'm curious, Daniel.
Yes.
If somebody has let's say an existing PV array system that they installed, a few years ago, and they're interested in having batteries, but this original inverter is not a battery-based inverter. I heard you mention AC coupling to an existing system. But what if, I'm curious, is it possible to literally just swap out the old inverter and put in the new inverter and land the PV right at it? Or is that something that's just too much labor-wise?
Well, that's a great question. And there's a couple things that come into play in that. Probably the way that the existing solar has been wired in series is that it has to be at a certain number of volts, hundreds of volts DC usually, to meet the range that existing grid-tied inverter has. So if the voltage is matched, yeah, let's go ahead and DC couple, right? Let's remove that existing grid-tied inverter and just go ahead and land our DC right into our existing inverter. One kind of caution on that, though, is that if you start to alter the existing solar photovoltaic system on the home, maybe we have to bring it back up to code. Maybe that means that we now have to get up onto the roof and add a rapid shutdown capability at the module level to bring it up to the most recent code. So that might mean that we got to add some AP Smart rapid shutdown modules, which is fine because our inverter has a built-in AP Smart transmitter in there. So it's kind of a system, but you're absolutely right, Josh. What if we come out to the site and that existing grid-tied inverter is nearing, maybe it's an old SMA and it's nearing the end of its warranted life? There is an opportunity to pull that out. Just be aware that there might be some other implications about bringing that existing array up to code for that.
If you're not increasing the size of the PV array and all you're doing is swapping the inverter, and let's say that the inverter, this 6kW as an example, let's say that that's no more than the Fronius or the existing inverter that was on there to begin with. Does that change since the AC nameplate rating is not more, it's actually the same or a hair less? Does that change the NEM status?
That's a great question, and we have some upcoming CALSA did, and if anybody hasn't been paying attention, CALSA, which is the California Solar and Storage Association, has done some great research, and they've been a really great advocate, and they had a great FAQ we're going to look at here in a minute. And no, you're allowed to actually increase the size of the array as long as you don't increase go over the headroom of the inverter. So for example, if you got a 6K inverter, you have 6K of solar, you can go ahead and add more solar to that system and keep your existing old NEM status. It's just that you're going to have more inverter clipping. But as we're going to look into it here in a few minutes, sometimes inverter clipping is okay during the middle of the day, knowing that we're going to be able to capture some of that energy later into the evening and offset or delay the time in which we have to start discharging our battery.
Daniel, I'd like to point out that our inverter has a lot of PV capability as well. So we can hook up to 15 kilowatts of power. It can capture 7,500 kilowatts continuously of power. We have 2 independent MPPT controllers inside our inverter, and it can take arrays up to 600 volts. So this inverter is very capable at taking in DC coupled solar. We can also take in up to 6,000 watts of AC coupled solar. So Daniel's going to get into that, but it does make a lot of sense to allow a little bit of inverter clipping, knowing how cheap solar panels are these days.
Yep, exactly. Thank you both. One thing that really sets Simplify Power Briggs & Stratton apart is, one, our history of using lithium iron phosphate. Since the beginning of our batteries, we've always leveraged the safest of all the chemistries, lithium iron phosphate. Of course, it's not the most energy dense. It's not that cobalt-based chemistry that we have in our phones and our laptops, but that doesn't matter much if we have stationary storage. What we care about is safety for the homeowners, your homeowners and your business owners that you're selling these systems to. What we care about is cycle life. And so by leveraging this LFP chemistry, we're achieving that. Now, a lot of people in the industry are actually moving this way. And as anybody who wants to come by the booth, next week is RE+. We're going to have our booth numbers up here in a second. But as you're walking RE+ show, if you're going, notice, look at the spec sheets of a lot of our competitors, and a lot of people are now using LFP. They see that as the future. We knew it from the beginning. One thing that they might not be doing is leveraging the cylindrical cell form factor. Now, a cylindrical cell form factor, think of it as like a AA or AAA battery. That inherently has more strength to it because of its cylindrical nature and better performance. Nathan, would you be kind enough to maybe dive in a little bit more deeper about why these chemistries and why these form factors matter, even though they're more expensive up front? They give you a longer life, which ultimately lowers the cost.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Daniel. And I'd like to start off by saying that, we've been using LFP chemistry and perfecting battery storage for homes since 2010. To put that into perspective for you, the Tesla Powerwall didn't come out until 2015. So we've been doing this a long time. Our LFP batteries have gotten better and better and better to the point that we can offer the best warranty in the business and expect a very long cycle life. So a couple of things about LFP chemistry that make it better. As Daniel mentioned, safety, right? LFP chemistry is just a lot less prone to fire. It's less prone to thermal runaway, and the release in the event of damage, you can imagine a car crash, or you can imagine somebody bumping into a battery, or maybe even a battery getting dropped, right? LFP batteries do not present that same thermal runaway. Even if damaged, those batteries release that heat much more slowly. And you can see this, there's evidence of this from national lab testing. There's evidence of this on just simply YouTube, where you can watch puncture tests. And so most companies have realized that LFP battery chemistry is the best that's out there, but it's not just chemistry, it's the way the batteries are constructed. So as Daniel mentioned, we use the term form factor to describe how the cells that make up the battery are built. The lowest cost version of these cells are pouch cells, which is pretty much just a foil wrapped cell that contains electrolyte and the same type of contacts inside it. We call those the cathode and the anode. And these types of cells are very cheap to produce, but they don't last nearly as long. A slight step up from that are prismatic cells, and this is what a lot of our competitors use. Prismatic cells are plastic cased cells, typically that come in rectangular shaped blocks, and these cells can offer a lot more capacity, can offer a slightly reduced cost to cylindrical cells, but they don't last quite as long. And one of the reasons for this is just the nature of that cell, that they end up expanding and contracting with heat a little bit more. So as batteries charge and discharge, they expand and contract, and that can eventually lead to degradation of the cells. Now, given even prismatic cells can last a very long time with LFP chemistry, we're talking thousands and thousands of cycles compared to what you would get out of lead acid. But the real premium type of battery is constructed with cylindrical cells. And this is the cell that we use. It's got a rigid steel case. That rigid steel case helps to prevent expansion and contraction. It also is hermetically sealed, right? And so that this battery does not let electrolyte out. It does not let air in. It's hermetically sealed. It's a sealed battery. And we have hundreds of these cells that are paired very carefully with high-end balancing equipment. We have a very robust BMS, battery management computer, in each of our batteries. And so by doing this, we're able to create a battery that is extremely long-lasting, that we're very proud of. And I hope that's enough detail, but if you're looking for more, we have a 90-minute long talk about battery chemistry and about battery management systems. So
yeah, check out simplifypower.com and our some upcoming. So why does this matter for NEM? Well, it matters for this new net metering agreement is because What we need to do now is use our batteries, cycle them daily. So every day we're going to be capturing energy and discharging it. We're going to buy low, sell high. And so what we want is something that's going to last a long time. We're not just going to have these batteries sit stationary waiting for an outage. They're going to be grid interactive. So it's really important that we have something safe as these things proliferate around the world and your neighborhoods, and also something that's going to last a long time. One thing really quickly, we're going to get right into the meat of the topic here, is on the left is our 3.8 kilowatt hour battery. This is a non-communicating battery, doesn't have closed loop communication capabilities, which is fine because it's really designed mainly for lead acid battery replacements or to be paired with other pieces of equipment that can't talk to it, right? You got an old Magnus sign, you got some old Outback equipment, right, that couldn't otherwise leverage closed loop communications. Why buy a more expensive battery that can? The perfect kind of lead acid battery replacement. I'm personally going to be giving a talk at RE Plus on how to size and considerations when you are replacing lead acid batteries. Right on, just to the right of that is our Amplify battery, which is our closed loop communication capabilities. To the right of that is our outdoor rated 4.98 battery. That one is also able to be communication. The inverter on the far right is our new inverter, our Simplify 6 kilowatt inverter. One thing you can do, as I mentioned, is that 4.98 battery is outdoor rated. The 3.8s are not. And what you need to do is, if you're going to put them inside, we have wall brackets available at Solagent. Another thing available at Solagent, and you can see the SKUs number right here, are the Boss 12 and the Boss 6 cabinet. And these allow you to put up to 12 or 6 batteries in one of these outdoor rated battery cabinets. It really makes the installation easy, kind of simplify things. That's just a running joke for us. But these also do have some of these UL certifications that are becoming much more important, and that you and your inspector should really be aware of, that these UL listings are becoming more required as these systems become more popular. One thing we can do is take one of our Boss 12 cabinets and take out half of the batteries and put an inverter in the upper half. Now, the SKU that you see there is for our Simplify inverter in 6 batteries. If you go carefully and look at your Solagent website, you can notice that we also offer, and Solagent offers this, is the Solar. We can put a Solar 12K up top, and we can put any combination of up to, I think, down to 4 batteries is what we offer. So you don't necessarily have to have the 6 batteries with the Simplify inverter. You can have a Solar up top with down to 4 batteries. Notice we do have some bus bars here that are running these batteries in parallel. We should always run our batteries in parallel. And further, we have little terminal blocks here. So it really simplifies the install and makes it kind of easy and quick install. That way you get your guys out to the job site, get this installed, AC couple it, DC couple it, and then get on to the next one and keep going. One thing I do want to mention really quickly before we get into NEM is that we do sell generators. And if anybody is interested in these generators, these are standby generators, right? These are not the portables. These are either propane or natural gas generators. We have some of the most powerful ones in its class on the market. And we also have generators, certain models, the 17 and the 20, that don't derate on natural gas. So really exciting to have these generator offerings. And if that's something you're interested in, let me know. I can connect you up with one of our energy standby reps. So RE Plus is next week. You guys excited? Josh, Nathan? Josh, why don't you give a little highlight of what you're going to be doing there at your booth as 5949, Briggs Stratton 5554. We're going to be neighbors, and if right next to the Carhartt. So if you see Carhartt clothes, you're pretty close. So Josh, what are you going to be doing over there at the Solagent booth?
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be posted up with a sign that says, "Ask me about batteries." There's going to be absolutely, no confusion, no ambiguity whatsoever. You'll be able to stop on by our booth. A chance to win. We've got a Yeti cooler we're giving away, a Scotty Cameron putter, also a brand new Taylor Dunn driver. And we're going to be giving that away at our Celebration event happening over at Top Golf excited about that. If you want tickets to get in for free, they're not tickets, it's actually wristbands. Stop on by 5949. So lots of fun, a chance to win, educational opportunities, meet the entire Sologent team. In addition, if there is a solution that you want to get started on right away, I'll be able to connect you directly with your Sologent rep. So we can get you quoted out a bill of materials if there's a project that's hot. The iron is hot. You got to strike while the iron is hot. We're going to have reps that are there that will be able to put together an order for you and shoot that off to the account manager, get a quote done, and take care of your customer, even at the show. 5949 in Las Vegas. We're excited. And again, we're neighbors with Briggs and Stratton.
I'll see you next week. And during the live session that we did, Josh, you had said something really powerful, is that what you're looking forward to at RE Plus is not only to educate and help people figure out their solutions, but also learn from all of you installers, all of you people that are going to be at this show.
Yep.
It's really a two-way street that allows us to build off each other and really make this industry such a great place to work and build our relationship. So really looking forward to it. I know that we're going to be having a happy hour. I believe it's either Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday in the evening. So stop on by us, and really looking forward to RE Plus and building these relationships with everybody.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Happy hour. Schedule me for that bad boy.
And the other thing you should look for, everybody, is that both Nathan and I are going to be giving in-booth trainings. Nathan's going to be getting a training on energy sales made simple, right? We kind of design, and don't confuse the customers, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Get them something simple they can understand and let them move around a little bit. I'll personally be doing a training on upgrading off-grid systems to lithium-ion batteries. Additionally, Nathan's also going to be doing a co-training with Solar. Dylan from Solar is going to come over to our booth, and we're going to be talking about how Solar and Briggs Stratton Energy Solutions batteries are a perfect pair. If anybody's sticking around for Thursday, I know a lot of people leave Thursday. It's usually kind of a quiet day at the show, but if you do, I would highly encourage you to go check out Sequoia Cross, who's my boss. Amazing person who's been in this industry since the Solar Pioneers days. She's going to be talking about the value proposition of software and apps and energy storage system development. And that really plays a crucial role. We're going to talk about these apps, load shedding, how we model these new NEM 3.0. So check out that, and then stop on by Sologent to see some of their trainings as well. All right, let's get into it. So really, net metering has been around since around 95, and that was some of the first net metering agreements that kind of went into the industry in California. So what we're seeing here, this is a great illustration that I found from NREL. What we're seeing here is our solar. We got a bidirectional grid meter, right? And we got power coming in out of the grid. Down here, all the blue is us consuming power from the grid. All of the green is us self-consumption, right? The solar is supporting the loads in the house at that moment. And then all this yellow is what we're sending back out to the grid. And when we did that, right, all of our load minus our supply that we're sending out is kind of canceled out. It's a 1-for-1 credit. Now, when you do that, you get your true-up bill. And usually you can get that 1-to-1, and it made for a quick payback period. Now, as we're going to see a second on this next slide, things have changed. Before things changed, though, we went to net metering 2.0 back in 2013. Really, that was kind of the industry kicking the can down the road, or the CPUC, I should say. It's really similar to the same as before, except there was a one-time interconnection fee and some non-bypassable charges, kind of that $10 a month that you were seeing on your bill, and everybody was put onto a mandatory time of use rate. This is what's happened. We went from net energy metering to net billing tariff. So now everybody kind of still has just one meter. In this, I know in this picture there's 2 meters here, but essentially what we still have is we're sending power back out to the grid, and we're consuming power here on the blue. Same idea. Blue is us consuming. Green is when we're under self-consumption. Yellow is when we're exporting. But notice that now when we're consuming power, we're paying the retail rate for that power. So we're paying 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on that time of use rate. And when we sell, we're selling at the sell rate, which is significantly less. We're going to look at a heat map here of what that looks like. But what's happening, it went from net energy billing to net billing tariff, right? So it's now kind of the billing tariff. And what that kind of is going to show here in a second is that really what we need to do is store energy when we would otherwise be exporting it to the grid, and then discharge that battery to help support our loads when we would otherwise be buying it. So what happened? Really, solar became so successful. We all did such a great job over the last 15 years moving this industry forward that now, during the day in California, in the summer, solar on all of our homes and all of the utility scale solar is producing so much power that there's more power being put onto the grid than we know what to do with. Energy is essentially going negative in cost. And what happens is that in the evenings or in the mornings, that power still has to be generated. And so energy companies or utility providers are running their power plants maybe at idle, and it's really having to put a strain on this grid. So it kind of looks like a duck. That's why they call it the duck curve. So really what's doing is with this new net metering is we're trying to flatten this duck curve out. And what was happening really is that the people who had gone solar weren't truly paying what the cost was for this energy. They weren't paying the true cost to keep this grid supported. And so what we're doing now is the CPUC has gone to this new net energy NEM 3.0. Hate them or love them, I found this graph here on their website. It kind of breaks down what the changes are over these different net metering tariffs. Really kind of, we still on the time of use, and they're a little changed a little bit. One of the things I do want to point out is instead of giving you that one-to-one credit, what they're going to do now is compensate you for every kilowatt hour you send out to the grid at the rate at which that utility company would have otherwise bought that kilowatt hour on the wholesale market. So you're not getting your one-to-one of 20, 30 cents a kilowatt hour that you can use up in the winter and use up at night. Really, you're paying this, you're getting paid pittance. I would just say that. You're still going to get paid out wholesale at your true up. You're going to still see those non-bypassable charges. One thing I kind of liked is that whenever my customers would have their true up bill, they would get these, and I'm in Pacific Gas and Electric, they'd get their PG&E bill, it'd be $10 a month, $10 a month, $10 a month, and then they wouldn't be looking on page 6 or 7 and seeing the fine print that says, if your true up period was today, would you be in the red? Would you be in the green? And so by having it now be, you got to pay it true up essentially monthly, you're going to see where you're at, and you're not going to get that sticker shock when you see the $1,000 true up or all those credits built onto it. Another thing, and I think Josh was hinting at this a little bit earlier, is that we can now oversize these systems a little bit to account for the future electrification of everything. Josh, Nathan, did you guys read Home Power back in the day? No?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and then I noticed there's a name on here, Don Loberg, on the first article that you're showing from Home Power, PV commercialization in the era of restructuring the IPP program, Don Loberg. Don Loberg, folks, current owner of Offline Solar Electric. Go to offlinesolar.com to find out more. Don Loberg actually sold the offline solar business to my mentor, Brooke Hanner, who now owns Offline Solar Electric, the guy who taught me what a kilowatt hour is, Brooke Hanner. And Brooke told me all about Don. Don, he's a pioneer. Not only did he start Offline Solar back in, I think, 1980, but he also was a leader with CalSIA, now CalSA, California Solar Storage Association. He was a leader because at that time, fighting against the CPUC and the utilities, they wanted to make it illegal for contractors, electrical contractors, to install solar. They wanted the installation of solar to be a monopoly that would only happen via the utility on their land, et cetera, not rooftop, not installed by a contractor. We could not even imagine that being the case today, right?
Yeah.
The boom, the revolution in solar that's happened. Don went up there on behalf of CalSIA, now CalSA, along with all the other members as well, and led the fight for rooftop solar installed by contractors. here in California, which set the pace for solar in California, and heck, I dare say the world. So I want to give respect. I see that name, Don Loberg. It's almost like the George Washington of solar in
Yeah.
a sense. And I'm tied and connected. offlinesolar.com, offlinesolar.com. That's the company that Don founded that's now ran by my friend and mentor, Brooke Hanner. So a tip of the hat to Mr. Loberg right there.
Yes, definitely. And a tip of the hat to all of the other solar pioneers, the John Schaefer, the Larry Schussler, who started Sunfrosted. That was my mentor. So what I had done here is I actually gone back and Home Power is out of print now, but I loved getting my Home Power. We advertised in there, and so they always send us some copies here. You can go on to homepower.com and look at some of these old issues, and that's exactly what I did to prepare for this talk with Josh and you guys here today on this Net Metering 3.0. I went back and kind of found articles that talked about what net energy metering, what were we thinking back in the day? And Don had a great article there. There's another one in a more recent, right, 2017, which is when we were kind of transitioning from that NEM 2.0 to the NEM 3.0. And what I found was this graph here, and it's kind of similar to what we were looking at before, is this green is us exporting to grid. That's our excess solar energy. This blue is our self-consumption, right? That's what we're using in our homes. And this red is us buying from the grid. Now, I mentioned earlier that now the green is really going to be not worth any green. It's going to be worth nothing, pittance. And we'll look at what exactly that means here in a second. So what we need to do is, instead of sending this energy, sending this green back to the grid, we need to capture it. We need to store it in a battery. And then in the red, we'll discharge our batteries so we're not seeing any red. And the idea is that we're kind of trying to move on to self-consumption as much as possible. Don't buy, don't sell, and just be our own little home microgrid. And what's exciting about whether or not you should think, that should the utilities be doing this or should the homeowners be doing this, that can be a conversation. But what I like the idea about it being on the consumer side, the idea that the consumer should store it, is that now we're giving that energy resilience, that energy backup, as well as the ability to make this financially viable for everybody and make this technology work. So really quickly, if anybody wants to go check out these old Home Power magazines. I love going to the Code Corner. I don't know if anybody remembers that in any of the articles, but I would always flip to the Code Corner and look at whatever the most recent codes were. What was rapid shutdown at that time and the case. So the idea here is that we want to capture the green in a battery and discharge it so we don't have any red. Keep in mind that there is seasonal changes to this, and we could store energy in the summer and discharge it in the winter, but keep in mind that these are seasonal changes and that does affect our sizing. So here, Josh,
so Daniel, can you explain a little bit what you mean there by seasonal changes, right? We get shorter amount of sun in the winter. What did you mean about seasonal changes?
Yeah, so thank you, Nathan, for making me expand on that a little bit. So it used to be that I would build all of my credits up in summer. Like I could have all my solar just kicking butt in summer, and I would have my true up bill. And that's why I loved installing homeowner systems in springtime, because if I installed it in fall, they would always get worried looking at their bill that they're going negative on their true up if they did look at page 6 or 7. But by having these systems installed in spring, we're building up those credits. But now we're no longer able to kind of carry those credits forward from summer to winter. So it's affecting kind of that seasonal changes. And the idea that we could, say, store something all summer long and discharge it in winter really isn't practical anymore. So we have to understand that kind of using the grid as our battery to build our credits isn't viable. And so we need to model that a little bit differently. And there's some companies, I'll mention here, Aurora Solar and Open Solar, that are going to help us do that.
So just to be clear, then, that means that over the summer months, right, you're getting trued up by the utility for that month alone, and you're not building credits that you could then use in January or February when you're not getting as much sun. So that's a downside to a homeowner, but as Daniel pointed out, you're getting a completely different system, right? You're getting a battery backup for your house that if the power does go down, you have energy resilience. And Daniel's going to explain here what those feedback rates you get from the utilities are. And you can see that in some months, when you're still getting reasonable amounts of solar, you can get a very large amount for feeding back to the grid. So Daniel, take it away.
Yeah, and it should be clear that you can, roll. So say, for example, you're looking at those two little green squares. You could theoretically, and I think everybody's going to do this, is discharge their batteries to grid, which you're allowed to do if you've charged the batteries with solar, and then build up credits that can roll over and build those up. The idea, though, is that if you look at kind of this red here, this is essentially when the sun is up. And if you're backfeeding at less than a cent a kilowatt, really, you're not going to be building any credits. So the idea is that what we'll do is we're going to store it and then use that power in the evening times. And there's not a lot of people on NEM 3.0 right now. I know a lot of you installers out there right now probably have a really long backlog, and you probably have your crews scheduled out probably to the end of the year, or maybe even further out. But you don't want to see that pipeline dry up. So you want to be sure that we're still making these sales. And that's probably why you're here today listening to us, is how do we approach these customers for NEM 3.0? How do we convince people that we're moving forward? And Josh, I kind of thought about this a little bit, and Nathan, if you want to chime in on this, say we're sitting down at the kitchen table with the homeowner. Should we tell them that they missed the boat?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I think that we don't have to tell them that the agreements have changed, that the tariffs are different, right? We tell them what there is now, but I think the demands are really going to be changing in the coming years. And later on in this talk, you're gonna show my solar system. And what did I do immediately when I got my solar system, Daniel? I started adding loads, right? And so I think that going forward, solar is changing. We are in the age of batteries, whether we like it or not. Cars are moving to batteries. We carry portable computers, portable laptops, phones in our hands. Everything is moving towards batteries. Demand is changing. And so it makes sense that regulations are changing. Josh, did you want to comment a little bit more on that?
No, I think you nailed it. Perfect analogy. Our phone, able just with a battery, I can take it anywhere in my pocket. But you all remember, well, maybe you don't. I'm an 80s kid. I'm 46. And I still remember, heck, I remember when I was really little having a rotary phone at our house. But I remember being, stuck to the wall and having an actual, phone book that I had to use to go look up someone's number, or I had to call information. But the phone would be hooked up to the wall. I know I was a whippersnapper when we used to have a phone on the wall.
Well, the idea, I think that's hilarious.
Both ways in the snow. Seriously, though, batteries changed the game. We're not hooked to the wall anymore. Same thing, right?
Absolutely. That's what I was referring to. Demand is changing, and Daniel's going to get to it, but I keep mentioning to people that you're now looking at energy solutions, not just home electric solutions, right? People are moving to stoves, induction stoves, right? They don't like cooking with electric. Well, induction is there, which is rapid heat as well. We have more and more people moving to heat pumps for both heating and cooling applications. Daniel's going to get into that, but the world is changing in terms of energy needs, in terms of transportation needs, etc.
Yeah, and one organization that if you're not a member of already, and we've already said it here, is California Solar and Storage Association. NEM 3.0 could have been a lot worse. And if it wasn't for the great people like Don Loberg, who originally got it, and all the new people that are now at this organization, it could have been worse. They were out there lobbying in Sacramento to make sure that these rules were as favorable as they can make it, while still helping to support this grid in the way that makes sense for everybody. The members only page, where I found this graph, is on the members only page right here. I was in Pacific Gas and Electric. So if you're not a member, go ahead and join this great association, and then you get access to all these member only resources found on their website. And that's kind of how I got some of these maps here. Another great
go back to that real quick.
Yeah.
What an amazing differential. What you could sell back if you don't have batteries. You might get 14 cents, 9 cents, 11 cents, 8 cents, 3 cents, a penny.
Well, this is less than a
to
penny here,
portable.
Josh. Yeah.
But if you store that energy, folks, and you discharge it at night, say, look at that, what's that, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 64 cents, 72 cents, 90 cents. So if you're self-consuming that energy instead of selling it back, you're paying yourself essentially.
Yeah,
right?
and this is at a weekday export compensation rate, right? The import rates are much higher, and if you're on a time of use rate, the import rates might be 30, 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So again, this is the export, and Josh is absolutely right that really what you're getting is almost essentially nothing. And if you are churning your solar out, and we're going to talk about maybe we can try and get our solar to produce a little bit later in the day, but it really makes 6 cents a kilowatt hour when we were under NEM 2.0 getting to 20, 30, 40 cents a kilowatt hour. One thing that Aurora really liked, and I really like this, Aurora is going to be at RE+. Aurora Solar is going to be at booth 2955. I look forward to go over there and talking to them. What I found on their website was this. So this little dashed blue line, that's our solar, right? That's our consumption. And this black line is our solar production. So if you kind of look at this dark blue right here is self-consumption. This light blue is us sending back to grid. And this kind of peach color right here is us self-consuming under peak loads, right? And that could be right here. They're calling it 55 cents a kilowatt hour. And there's a little sliver right here of some lighter peach. So the idea here and the point they're trying to make, Aurora Solar is trying to make, is that the value of all of this light blue going back to the grid, although it's much more kilowatt hours, is actually worth less in dollars than just us having this peach area that we're trying to self-consume on. And you can see here that they broke it down here that, again, even though this is a much smaller area, that it's actually worth more to you to do self-consumption, not on that one-to-one kilowatt hours, but on the net billing tariff. So
Daniel, let me just break that down for everybody. Go back just one slide. Remember what Daniel's saying, self-consumption here. You, of course, are self-consuming during the day. The only way that you can self-consume that energy produced earlier in the day in the evening time is if you have storage, right? And that's what this whole event is about. Again, you can email Josh to learn more about this. You can see us if you're at RE+, but learn how to integrate storage with your solar so that you're saving that energy you're pumping into your batteries during the day, and then pumping that out to your loads in the evening and the nighttime to save yourself money.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan. Great analogy. One of the ways, and Aurora Solar, again, booth 2955, is kind of in this article was talking about, well, what we can do is we can shift the solar production later into the evening. And how do we do that? Well, we point our solar arrays to the west. Now, there's no batteries here, right? You could theoretically just do this. You're not going to really see that savings. But what we do is with the batteries, we shift our solar array more to the west, maybe southwest. And then what that does is that it allows the solar to produce later into the evening, which kind of increases that little peach area, which I mentioned before is worth more than sending it back to the grid. And that means that we can delay starting the discharge of our batteries until later in the evening, and then capture some of that afternoon sun. Another interesting way, and Lumen does that. Lumen's going to be there. It's booth 20,004, and Lumen's available at Solagent. There's some amazing software and hardware technology that Lumen is integrating. And think about adjusting not the solar profile, but adjusting the load profile. So maybe we are having more loads come on during the day. Maybe we tell our hot water heater to run all day and shut our hot water heater off at night. That way we're running the heavy appliances during the day when our batteries are full, when the sun's still out, and then we can then use that retained heat in the hot water and then take our showers in the evening for the kids. So Lumen is available at Solagent right now. There's the SKU number, and check them out. Another great thing that I found being part of the California Solar and Storage Association was this kind of true FAQ. Now, I know there's a lot here. I'm just going to kind of run through it really quickly. But, why is there still a true up if they're getting billed monthly? Well, that's true. They're still getting billed monthly, but you're still going to get that paid out at the wholesale rate at that annual true up. How can I take advantage? Can I discharge my battery during those 2 hours of green, yes. As long as all of the electrons in your batteries came from solar, you can export that battery to grid for export credit. These rates aren't locked in. That was interesting, is that the avoided cost calculator, which remember is the price at which you're being compensated, is essentially what it's worth, that kilowatt hour on the wholesale market rate, the avoided cost of having to buy it from somewhere else. That's going to be changing every 2 years. So there's some changes in there, and companies like Aurora, like Open Solar, are hard at work making sure they're keeping up to date on that modeling. So you know when you're sitting down at the kitchen table with the homeowners or business owners that you're presenting something that's accurate and that's going to show them a proper payback time. What if I have a house and I'm under NEM 2.0 and I'm selling it to somebody? Does that new homeowner keep the NEM 2.0, or do they got to go to NEM 3.0? No, they get to stay on it. And this is really cool. Again, valuable information coming out of California Solar and Storage Association. They take all these complex rulings and distill it down to the stuff you and I really want to know. They can stay on it. They're just going to outlive however much time is left on that net metering agreement. What if I'm on net metering 1.0, which there's probably not a lot of people out there anymore, or net 2.0? Can I add a battery without altering my NEM status? Yes, you can. Additionally, what's really exciting right now is that you can take a 30% tax credit. The new IRA allows you to take a 30% tax credit on just the batteries alone. You heard it. The idea that you could have batteries with no solar is something we've done. I know we did it with a lot of swell energy jobs here in California under SGIP. So it is possible to do that. And you can take just the 30% tax credit on just the storage alone. Another exciting thing also is that you can now do some direct cash payments. And I know this isn't a talk about the IRA, but the idea that you can approach nonprofits, in entities that don't pay taxes, like schools and houses of worship, and now offer them the same financial incentives that have always been available, and get these clean, renewable, energy resilient systems into other locations in our communities that haven't otherwise been able to offer that. Lastly, and we already talked about this, is that you can add solar to your existing storage system and stay under your existing NEM 2.0 or NEM 1.0, as long as you are accepting of some inverter clipping. What I mean by that is you can add solar as long as you've already maxed out your inverter. You can add more solar and just accept that inverter clipping, which is acceptable, right? Because we're trying to capture more energy later into the day. And if you got the roof space for it, you can go ahead and add it. So Josh, I got this from you, and I thought, I was watching some of your old videos preparing for this talk, and this is something I got directly from Josh. It's figuring out which bucket your NEM 3.0 customer is in. And one of the ways we do that is asking questions from the homeowner, and then don't talk, right? That's the hardest thing I have, is that I'll ask a question and answer it for them. No, just don't talk, listen. And what questions are you going to ask? Or how often do you have power outages? Is that a concern of you? How do you envision the solar plus storage working for you? What kind of budget do you got? And let them talk. Don't talk over them. Again, it's hard to do. And then figure out what bucket they're into and know that they can move around. So bucket number one was a little new of a concept to me, and it kind of made sense in some ways. So bucket number one is somebody who only sees energy storage as a financial investment. Really, they don't care about outages. They're probably in a location where they don't get many outages, or if they do, they don't care. They're kind of more of the bootstrap and just light the candles and try not to burn the house down people. But what they want to do is essentially you sell them a system with solar, with batteries, but no backup capabilities, no critical loads backup. So you heard it right. Essentially, if the grid goes down and they have solar and batteries, that system goes down. They have no backup. And why would you do that? One reason is that you can install it cheaper. You can get them in the game.
So Daniel,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You misspoke there. I believe you said solar with no batteries, then their system goes down.
No, with batteries, actually. There is systems out there from some of our competitors, and we could theoretically do this with our solar arc there. And so the idea is that Why would you do that? I don't think some people would do that, but you could save money by, say, not pulling any loads out of the main panel over to the critical loads. And
Oh, I see.
yeah, and so you're saving the cost of a critical load subpanel. You're saving the labor from having to pull those loads over. Again, they're not going to get any backup, even though they have the batteries, but you can size it pretty small. I kind of figure a lot more people are going to be in bucket number 2 there, which is when we do kind of have batteries and solar and pull some loads over. They want to have those kind of backup situations where they at least can run the fridge, the internet, the lights, the video games for the kids, so they're not driving you crazy. And so when you're sizing to that, you want to account for those daytime loads and really just be able to move the green to the red like we looked at before and account for some of that. Now, the bucket number 3 is probably going to be I want everything backed up. I hate the utility person. The way I envision that is a Solarc 15K, usually with that 200 amp pass-through utility rated breaker, which is available at Solagent, with some of our batteries and really backing up the whole house. And when you're sizing for that, you really have to look at the max amount of kilowatt hours on the max day on the max month. You can't really average things out. So Josh, thinking about the buckets, anything you like to add or change on that? And did I get bucket number 1 right?
No, you nailed it. Yeah. Bucket number 1, generally speaking, that's the customer that currently has, existed where they're solar only and they wouldn't have batteries. Well, now under NEM 3, that's not feasible. So in order to get an ROI or save money on your bill for your solar system, you've got to have storage. But the cost of storage might be above and beyond the budget, just like it had been for a traditional NEM 2 or NEM 1 solar only customer. And so in order to get that ROI for that solar only customer that now needs storage for all the education we're learning here today, thank you again. You guys are doing amazing. For that customer, it's all about the ROI. It's all about, this is just a financial investment. And that's all it ever was if they were just a solar only customer before NEM 3 came around. So yes, there's less upfront cost. You won't have battery backup, but you're going to save money on your bill and get that return on investment that you're looking for. So yes, bucket 1 does exist, but the reality, just think about it. You're the customer and somebody's telling you, well, based on what you're telling me, you don't have a lot of outages. We're going to put you here in bucket 1 and here's your ROI. Well, wait a minute. If the grid goes down, I won't have power. And how many times have we heard that from solar only customers?
Yeah, we still hear it, Josh. We still hear it.
They think they have power when the grid, right? No, you don't have power. Well, when you tell bucket 1 customer you won't have power, though, I think psychologically it's going to bother them to have a battery on the wall they can't use when the grid goes down. So it's a great opportunity to upsell to put them into bucket number 2. And then also conversely, I want to go to the other side, which is bucket 3. Every single customer you have, everyone on the line, raise your hand in the room. Yes, every customer you have thinks that they're in bucket number 3. They, like you said, I hate the utility. I want to go off the grid. I'm tired of it. But their budget really isn't meant for bucket number 3. They might consume 100 kilowatt hours plus in July or August when everything's running. They don't have the budget to maybe build the battery bank, the Briggs Stratton Energy Solution battery bank, large enough to account for all the stuff they want to run on those days. So we know that after talking with them, but I would have caution. Don't rush your customer in the bucket you want them in. If they think they're bucket number 3, whole home backup, have patience in the sales process. Show them, humor them, show them what bucket number 3 looks like. Worst case scenario, they say, oh, I can't afford that. And you immediately take them back to the more palatable bucket number 2 of emergency loads only battery backup, which is far less expensive. And your close ratio will go up there.
That's right.
But in addition, you might also have the customer go, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. Whoa, wow, excellent. So I sold a gigantic bucket number 3 deal. Yay.
Yeah.
So you have nothing to lose. Have patience in the process and humor your customer. You know, right up front, you can tell them, hey, based on our discussion, your budget may not fit bucket number 3, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, just to see.
And that happened to me in real life. When I started not being afraid to show a bigger price system, it really did help me. I can always jump down. It's really hard to go down and go start low and then show them something high. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you. What we're going to look at now, as we're kind of wrapping up the hour, is Nathan's house. Nathan Heston's on the line with us right now. Remember, all this modeling can be done with Open Solar. They're going to be there at RE+. We're going to be there at RE+. Excited to see you next week. Open Solar is at booth 1872, Aurora 2955. What is Nathan looking at? This is showing Nathan's energy consumption in kilowatt hours for every month of the year. Looks like he uses around maybe 350, 320 kilowatt hours or 300 kilowatt hours a month on average. What we do is we break down the month into every day of the month. And now what we're looking at is his consumption on a daily basis on a month, probably around maybe 12 kilowatt hours a day averaged out. Then what we want to do is break it down to the day. So what we've gone is from the year to the month to the day. Now we're down to the hour. And what we're looking at is here, right, in the nighttime, everybody's asleep, kind of everybody wakes up and they're turning on stuff. And then what happens, everybody goes to school, goes to work, and then all of their consumption, really their home energy needs goes down. And then what happens, right in the evening, it spikes up. So again, the concept behind this new net energy metering kind of paradigm is that what we need to do is, when we're not consuming power and we're exporting it, we're not getting any value for it. So what we need to do is capture all of this solar production that would otherwise be sent back to grid here in this kind of daytime, and then discharge the batteries in the evening. One of the packages that we sold, Nathan, was this example here. We took 3 of our amplified batteries with 1 of our inverter with the Energy Track app, and then we were not only able to do that kind of net metering optimization and save him money, but also give him backup, essentially enough backup to run the entire day. So as we're kind of closing it out, I wanted to show you some of these kind of single line diagrams. What we have here is grid. We got a meter main combo. We got it feeding into our bi-directional grid port on the inverter. We got a load out port going up to our critical loads panel, and we've got some DC coupled solar. Now, I'm not going to get into solar panels, but I know Soligent has an amazing array of solar panels, from the most expensive to the not least expensive, but the least, I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but they have the range of solar panels that'll fit your customers' needs. And additionally, we have our batteries down at the bottom. What you're seeing on the right is how we would program Energy Track, the Briggs Stratton app, so that we kind of do that grid time time of use. And what we do is we program in the times that we want to discharge the battery, so that we're allowed to kind of optimize some of that self-consumption. Another way to do it is to simply use a grid tied zero export, which is would allow us to do is not export, not import. And you may adjust those values a little bit as the year, remember, we all want to export all our power during those 2 little green hours. So you might adjust these accordingly. This next, there's a lot going on this slide, but what I want to mention really quickly is almost, in fact, I think every single product you see on this page is available at Soligent.com today, or Soligent.net. Am I getting that wrong, Josh?
Yeah, Soligent.net. Absolutely.
.net. I knew that. And so what do we got here? We have grid. We have a meter can. We have a Solarc 15K. And everybody likes the Solarc 15K because it has that 200 amp pass through. We're passing everything through, so you don't even got to pull loads. Just go ahead and back everything up.
And by the way, earlier we showed bucket number 1, 2, and 3. What type of customer? Bucket 1, ROI. Storage is just for ROI on your solar, no battery backup. Bucket number 2 was emergency loads only, and bucket number 3 was whole house backup. One way you could give your customer flexibility if they're not ready for bucket number 3, whole home backup, but they might want to down the road, get them in with a 15K Solarc that has that 200 amp internal transfer switch with a smaller battery bank to back up emergency loads. And then down the road, because there's expandability, the ability to add on more kilowatt hours of storage from the Briggs and Stratton Energy Solutions available here at Solagent, you can add on more storage a couple years down the road as their energy needs increase. And it will totally fit perfectly with whole home backup, with putting them in, transitioning them into being a bucket 3 customer down the road. Just thought of that when you were showing the benefits of this 15K solar.
Yeah, that's a
You're
great point,
absolutely
Josh.
right. Yep.
To be able to expandability and scalability, that's something that's always been kind of in our repertoire, is being able to scale it and expand it. So get the homeowner started. Maybe they don't have the budget to go with bucket number 3, they're in bucket number 2, but let them know that in the future, once you're ready, we're here, Solagent's ready, the installer's ready to get you upgraded to what you need to be. This in this example, we have an AP smart transmitter built into our Simplify inverter, but in the SolarArc, what we're going to do is go ahead and use Tigo. You can use these Tigo rapid shutdown systems. Tigo is going to be there at Solagent. I mean, not Solagent, RE Plus, booth 2664, and you can order these parts from Solagent. Midnight Solar makes a great AC or a DC combiner there, that 1000 amp DC combiner. That SKU is available right there for you to order that at solagent.net. And we have 2 Boss 12 cabinets. Additionally, what we're showing here is a standby generator that's able to charge up that battery bank even when solar is not there. Maybe there's no solar in this picture at all. And you could have a way to use a generator, run it at its most fuel efficient load point, and then charge up those batteries and shut it off. Lastly, as we're closing out, if anybody's interested, we're really excited. If you're an installer out there doing good work, we want you to be part of our Installer IQ program. There's a QR code for you to scan. We have some opportunities for you to get money back, promote you, put you on our map so people know where to buy. There's amazing training opportunities available on Briggs and Stratton Power Academy. We have in-person e-learning, Power Academy Live, and even live virtuals. We will come out to your location with our trailer and demo not only our standby generators, but also energy storage. Keep in mind, we also have upcoming trainings. We do environmental considerations, battery chemistry 101, battery management systems as well. Questions and comments, training at simplifypower.com. Josh, thank you so much for having us here today. It was an amazing opportunity. Can't wait for next week. Please close us out with some final thoughts.
Awesome. Nathan, thank you. Daniel, thank you. Daniel Moyer, Nathan Heston, our colleagues and partners from Briggs and Stratton Energy Solutions, Simplify Power, PHI, available right here at Solagent. And of course, we'll all be at RE Plus in Las Vegas. I want to remind you that right now, Solagent has some special prices available on Simplify Power ESS packages available right now. So contact me, storage@solagent.net. That's storage@solagent.net. I'll make sure to connect you with a Solagent representative right away to get you your solution with the discount that we're talking about right now for Briggs and Stratton Energy Storage Solutions. I'm excited to see you there at RE Plus. Thanks so much for joining us today. Again, Daniel and Nathan, Simplify Power, Briggs and Stratton. We're excited to partner with them as a part of our Solagent Storage webinar series. This and more available at the Solagent YouTube channel. Again, if you want to find out more, email me today, storage@solagent.net. Thanks so much for joining us for our learning adventure. God bless and have a great day.
Thank you, Josh.